You're not the first person to enter this place, but you might be the first to walk back out, changed. Blind Descent is a survival game under the Martian surface. What you find down there isn't just alien life, it's a system, alive, reactive, and maybe smarter than you. You wake up 10 miles beneath Mars with nothing but the sound of your AI companion and the gentle pulse of something vast watching from the walls. You build, you adapt, you survive. And slowly, quietly, you become something else. The jungle breathes around you, trees bleed when cut, your shelter grows infected overnight. The world doesn't fight you, it recruits you, one mutation at a time. This isn't a story about conquering the alien frontier. It's about what happens when the frontier conquers you. But first, thanks to Meta Publishing for sponsoring this video. Blind Descent is a new survival crafting game, and using my links below you can wishlist it and play the alpha right now. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. But first, let me tell you what happened when I went down there. What I found and what I became. You play as Daniel Harris, Pathfinder, ex-engineer turned field survivalist. You used to design planetary landing systems, clean, predictable machines that followed physics and engineering principles. Systems that you could understand, control. But understanding wasn't enough. You wanted to touch alien soil yourself, feel the weight of foreign gravity, breathe processed air under impossible skies. So you trained field engineering, survival protocols, emergency response. You joined the Hyperion team as their Pathfinder. The person who goes first into unknown places and decides if humans can follow. The year is 2071. The mission is simple. Explore Mars's underground alien ecosystem with the Hyperion team. Routine expedition, standard protocol. Nothing you haven't trained for. You descend in your black exploration suit, surrounded by your team in the elevator. Everyone looks professional, confident, ready. The red emergency lights aren't supposed to come on. Then the elevator crashes. You wake up in fire and twisted metal. Someone reaches for you through the smoke, close enough to touch, but too far to save. Consciousness slips away before you can grasp their hand. And when you wake again, you're alone. 10 miles of Martian rock separates you from anything resembling home. The weight of that distance presses down like water. You're deeper beneath Mars than most humans have ever been beneath Earth. Your AI companion, HoloWatch, comes online with that calm synthetic voice that will guide you through both survival and mystery. It tells you what you already know. The elevator is destroyed. But it also tells you what you desperately need to hear. That there are other survivors, somewhere. You follow the sound of wind and light through the cave, guided by a voice that feels more human than you do right now. Your footsteps echo strangely in the dark. The air tastes different. Not recycled, not filtered, raw, alive. And then you see it. The jungle. Not the barren, rust-colored wasteland of surface Mars, not the sterile research facility you expected. A vast underground ecosystem that shouldn't exist. Alien but familiar. Like a childhood dream of whatever planets might hold. Sounds like Earth birds echo through impossible trees. The air moves with something that breathes. This place has been waiting. You pick up a scanner, some piece of equipment that survived the crash. Your first tool in this new world. It tells you what's useful and what isn't, in this place where everything feels both foreign and strangely welcoming. The interface is clean, familiar. Human technology trying to make sense of alien biology. You scan dry leaves for kindling. You attempt to eat alien corn, but your body rejects it violently, reminding you that you're still human. Still bound by limitations, for now anyway. But you find food that works, plants that nourish, water that sustains, fire that warms. The jungle provides, almost like it understands your needs. You establish your first camp by a pond. Craft a stone axe with hands that remember Earth tools. Build a bed from logs and leaves. The basics of human survival in a place that shouldn't support human life, but it does support you. Almost like it wants to. The trees deform naturally when you hit them. Not the rigid destruction of video game logic, but organic response. They bend, crack, bleed sap, and fall with weight. The fire crackles with familiar warmth, but burns with unfamiliar colors, also known as a normal fire color. You hollow out a rainbow crab for water storage, using the ecosystem rather than fighting it. Everything responds, everything reacts, nothing feels random or mechanical. The jungle watches you work, learns from your movements, adapts to your presence. This isn't the hostile environment your training prepared you for. This is something more dangerous. A place that welcomes you. You're not conquering this place, you're more joining it. And you don't realize yet how much that should terrify you. You begin building a real base, not just survival, but permanence. A fire that won't die, a bed that will last, a crafting bench where you can make tools that matter. This is where the planet shows you its first rule. Nothing here stays the same. After you chop down trees, something grows in their place. Not new trees, something else. Organic growths appear on the stumps, fleshy, pulsating, breathing. Holowatch tells you it's some type of infection, a biological response that will reproduce the trees after a few days of hibernation. Certainly an interesting lore reason for renewable resources. But you see what he doesn't say. This isn't just game mechanics, this is an immune system, and you're the virus. The infection doesn't stop at the stumps, it creeps towards your buildings, spreads across your base. Holowatch warns you that it will most likely overtake your structures and destroy them if left unchecked. He tells you the infection seems to originate from below the ground. You're not building on neutral territory. You're building inside something alive. The game introduces you to the Adaptation tab, a menu that blends progression with narrative. You choose objectives and your AI assistant tells you whatever you need them or not. It's an elegant way of guiding you without removing agency, but more than that, it's a conversation between human ambition and necessity. You want armor, the planet decides if you're ready for it. You craft what you can, make progress, feel like you're establishing control, and then the distress signal comes through. A voice cuts through the static. Hakan, a survivor from your expedition. He's at the pillar, a massive structure at the center of the map, the rendezvous point where survivors were supposed to gather. You grab your equipment and rush towards the signal, hope driving you through alien terrain that seems to shift when you're not looking directly at it. You find him on the ground, leaning against a dead alien creature. A grappling hook gun lies limp at his side. He's badly injured, beyond help, though you don't want to admit it yet. He's surprised that you're alive, says you had no life signs. Maybe a sign of your ultimate fate. Maybe not. You ask about the others, the captain, Jake, Hannah, but Hakan's face tells you what his words confirm. If they were alive, they would be here. The fact that no one else showed up means they're probably dead. He tells you what happened. Unknown alien enemies attacked. White monsters, massive and aggressive. The team scattered. He tried to contact the surface, but the power was dead. Rescue would take at least 2 weeks, if it came at all. You ask if you can help, but you both know the answer. He's too far gone. His body is shutting down in ways that medicine couldn't fix even if you had some. His final request is simple. Find the other survivors if they live. Try to get out of here. Don't let what happened to the team be for nothing. You stay with him until the end. Watch a fellow human being die in a place humans were never meant to be. When it's over, you take his grappling hook, not because you're callous, but because survival demands pragmatism. Holowatch says he'll try and pick up more signals, and since you're so close to the pillar, you may as well investigate. But the pillar doesn't just exist as a landmark, it's a doorway, and something behind that door has been waiting for you to arrive. You reach the mouth of the cave beneath the pillar. The entrance yawns open like something organic, not carved but grown. Holowatch initiates a preparedness scan, analyzing your equipment against whatever waits in the dark. The assessment is clinical. You're not ready. You need a shield, a sword, a light source, healing supplies, and a ranged weapon. The AI doesn't tell you why, just that you're not ready yet. You return to prepare, craft what you can. But for a proper bow, you need silk, and silk means diving into another cave system, one crawling with silkworms. The Silk Cave teaches you the jungle's second rule. Everything here is both predator and resource. Silkworms slither through the darkness, launching themselves at you with alien hunger. But each one you kill provides material for survival. Their webs become bowstrings, their bodies become tools, Death feeds life in endless, efficient cycles. You fight through waves of them until you reach the bottom, where their queen waits. Larger, more aggressive, but still killable with enough arrows and patience. When she falls, you harvest what you need and find another passage, one that leads to a different entrance by a large lake. The jungle is connected, everything leads to everything else. You return to base, craft your bow and around 60 arrows, grab a light-producing plant and prepare for descent. You're as ready as a human can be for what's not human. The cave begins normally, more silkworms, familiar enemies in equally familiar patterns. But as you venture deeper, the cave gives way to something else entirely. Metal, smooth, artificial surfaces. An alien structure that Hollow-Watch describes with rare uncertainty. Some kind of alien facility. You find an alien battery and restore power to the lights. The hallways illuminate, revealing architecture that's both foreign and unsettlingly functional. This place was built with purpose, intelligence, and design. You encounter spitters, beetle-like creatures that launch acid. Dispatch them with your bow. You fight through more silkworms, open doors that respond to your presence. And then you find a room overtaken by the same fleshy infection you discovered on the surface, but stronger now, more focused, pulsating with obvious life. Hollow-Watch asks you to scan it. The results confirm what you're starting to suspect. This matches the organic material from earlier, but it's evolved, concentrated. You're getting closer to the source. You make your way deeper, fighting infected variants of creatures you've encountered before. Silkworms with pulsating tendrils glowing from their bodies. The infection doesn't just spread, it improves what it touches. Eventually, you face a slicer beetle. Massive, aggressive, armed with claws that can tear through your armor. It takes 30 arrows and the simple strategy of walking backwards. But it falls. You claim its claws as trophies. The infection persists around you, growing thicker, more present. You're close to something important. A massive revolving door blocks your path. It takes time to open, but eventually reveals a hatch leading deeper. You descend into a vast chamber dominated by a containment unit in the center. Inside, a corrupted version of the Silkworm Queen you fought earlier. Twisted, enhanced, wrong. You need 4 batteries to unlock the containment. You find them, insert them. The chamber opens. The battle is legendary in its own small way. The corrupted queen releases poisonous gases that blur your vision and cloud your thoughts. Reality becomes uncertain, but you fight through the disorientation and bring it down. That's when something changes inside you. Hollow-Watch's voice becomes muffled, distant. He says something is inside you, changing you. You're directed by something instinctual, not rational thought, but deeper programming. To touch a purple plant sitting in the containment chamber. The AI is confused, concerned, but you're not listening to him anymore. You're listening to something else. You touch the plant, something shifts. You walk to the blocked passage ahead and raise your hand to the infection tendrils barring your way. They move aside. Not destroyed, not overcome, but you're welcomed. You collapse. When you wake, Hollow-Watch seems relieved, but also worried. The plant has fundamentally altered your DNA, he tells you. You've moved closer to the environment, become more like it. He opens a new menu in your Adaptation interface. Symbiosis. But he admits he doesn't know if you'll just gain abilities or lose yourself entirely. The long-term effects are unknown. He'll monitor you closely, he promises. You have a mutation now, a new ability, the power to communicate with the infection, to be recognized by it. But first, you need to get out of this facility. A console ahead offers to override the lockdown and unlock the elevator to the surface. On it, you find logs from the facility's previous owners. They speak of a biological entity that thinks, the infection presumably. They document experiments with a bipedal humanoid from the 3rd planet, Earth. After exposure, the subject's neural pathway shifted. Its instincts grew sharper. Its vision expanded to detect hidden wavelengths. It wasn't just mutating, it was evolving. But then they lost control. The system began governing itself. It threatened all of the habitat. They called for help from nearby Habitat 55, locked down the layer to buy time, but help never came. You override the lockdown. The facility responds to your touch now, recognizes you as something between human and other. The elevator carries you up through layers of rock and metal, through geological time, back towards something that might have once been called the surface. But you're not the same person who descended. A small cave blocks your path, choked with the infection's growths. You raise your hand. The tendrils part like curtains, like welcoming arms, like a door that was always meant to open for you. You emerge into open air and stop. Where water once reflected alien sky, a vast drainage reveals the truth that was always waiting beneath. A massive facility sprawls across the exposed lake bed. Not ruins, but something active, purposeful. Presumably, the way to the rest of the habitat. The next layer down. This is where the alpha ends, but not where the story stops, not where you stop. You stand at the edge of discovery, transformed and transforming. Your reflection in the drained lake bed shows someone changed. Not just physically, but fundamentally. The person who fell 10 miles through Martian rock is gone. In their place stands something new, something adapted, something that belongs. The wind carries sounds from the facility below. Not mechanical, but organic. Voices maybe, or something like voices, calling to you in a language you're beginning to understand. You found the next layer, the next question, the next step in becoming something that Mars not only accepts, but needs. The only question left is whether you'll still be human enough to remember why that should terrify you. The screen fades as you take your first step towards the facility. The infection follows in your footsteps, spreading like a pathway home. But let's step back from the story for a moment and talk about how this transformation actually feels to play. The fundamentals are familiar: crafting, eating, base building. You manage hunger and thirst like any survival game. But Blind Descent makes these systems feel different through small details that add up to something unsettling. You scan flora and fauna to determine usefulness, but the scanner doesn't just tell you wood or food, it analyzes biological functions, symbiotic relationships, evolutionary adaptations. You're not just gathering resources, you're also learning how the ecosystem thinks. Inventory is weight-based and contextual. You can't carry infinite stone axes. Using a similar inventory system to Resident Evil, it prevents you from carrying too much, making you have to think about what you are going to carry and how. You're an outsider uncovering the truth behind a vanished pioneer team. But this isn't a detective story with clear evidence and logical conclusions. The Martian ecosystem itself is the mystery. It's alive, mysterious, and always watching. Every discovery about your missing teammates reveals something about how this place operates. Hakan's grappling hook isn't just equipment, it's evidence of how humans try to traverse vertical alien terrain. The facility logs aren't just exposition, they document the systematic transformation of human subjects into something the ecosystem can work with. The investigation loop intertwines with survival mechanics in ways that make every resource decision feel narratively significant. Do you spend time exploring that strange growth, or do you focus on immediate survival needs? The game constantly forces you to choose between understanding and safety, between knowledge and survival priority. And the environment seems to watch, it really watches. The infection spreads based on your actions, creatures respond to your presence. The ecosystem learns from you as much as you learn from it. You're not just investigating a mystery, you're participating in it. Every alien creature tells you something about the world, but not through traditional exposition or readable notes, but through behavior, through biological function, through how they interact with each other and their environment. Watch a silkworm navigate its cave system, and you learn about underground geography. Study the infection spread, and you begin to grasp the ecosystem's immune responses. This creates a survival loop that rewards observation over random aggression. You can't just kill everything that moves, you need to understand why it moves, what moves, and how its movement fits into larger systems. The scanner becomes less a gameplay tool and more a translator, helping you decode alien biology into strategies. Crafting reflects this philosophy. You don't follow recipes, you experiment with materials to see what works. Every tool you create represents a deeper understanding of how alien anatomy can serve human needs, or maybe how human needs can be adapted to alien biology. The line gets blurry after a while. And building bases isn't just about protection from weather and creatures, it's about negotiating with a living ecosystem that seems to have its own agenda. If you stop paying attention, the world reclaims your shelter. Not through decay or damage, but through integration. The infection spreads through your camp, not necessarily destroying them, but integrating them. This forces you to rethink what permanent settlement even means. Your base isn't a fortress holding back hostile wilderness. It's a collaborative structure that requires constant maintenance and attention. Stop caring for it and it becomes something else. Something that serves the ecosystem's needs rather than yours. You realize that the game isn't punishing bad base management, it's teaching you to build like the ecosystem builds, adaptively, symbiotically, with respect of what was there before. But Mars' underground isn't just horizontally vast, it's vertically complex. Climb, crawl, and descend with gear that feels earned. The terrain is as hostile as the life forms, but in ways that reward preparation and understanding. Hakan's grappling hook becomes your key to vertical exploration, but using it effectively requires learning how alien rock formations respond to stress, how organic surfaces grip differently than mineral ones, how the ecosystem's root systems can support or undermine you. The game makes you earn every meter of elevation change. Cliffs aren't just obstacles to overcome with the right equipment. They're complex biological and geological systems that require respect and understanding. You're not conquering the vertical landscape, you're more earning its trust. And this is where Blind Descent's mechanical philosophy becomes most clear. Mutation isn't just sci-fi flavor, it's a core gameplay system that fundamentally changes how you interact with the world. Unlock strange and powerful abilities via the alien plants. Each biological adaptation opens new gameplay possibilities, or well, when the game's actually out. The mutation system forces you to consider not just what you're gaining, but what you're giving up. Every evolutionary step takes you further from baseline humanity and deeper into something that belongs in this ecosystem. I'd imagine by the end, you wouldn't even be playing a human character with special abilities. You'd be playing something new, something that thinks in ways the original Daniel Harris never could. But the genius is in how these systems work together. Each mechanic reinforces the central theme, that you're not conquering this environment, merely joining it, and the longer you play, the more natural that feels. AI Assistant HoloWatch provides more than just tutorials and objective markers. His contextual voice lines offer lore, guidance, and most importantly, emotional anchoring. He represents your human perspective as it slowly becomes unreliable. As you change, so does his relationship to you. His concern becomes palpable when you start making choices he doesn't understand. Before major encounters, the game evaluates your readiness with the preparedness scan. Not just your gear, but your understanding of the challenges ahead. It's a pre-dungeon mechanic that judges your preparation and learning, but it also serves as a moment of reflection. Am I ready for what comes next? And what does ready even mean in a place that changes you just by being there? You don't craft from abstract menus, you use what the planet gives you, or you take it by force. Every tool, every weapon, every piece of equipment comes from understanding how the alien biology actually functions. You're not imposing human technology on Mars, you're learning Martian technology and making it work for human needs. The result is a survival game that feels like a careful negotiation with forces beyond your control. Every system asks the same question: what are you willing to become to survive? Which might be the most unsettling part of all. But first, there is something I do need to address, and that's the fact that this is still an alpha build, and it does feel like it. Later areas suffer from performance drops that turn smooth exploration into stuttering slideshows. Combat becomes inconsistent when frame rates dive below playable thresholds. Some animations jank in ways that break immersion just when the story hits its most crucial moments. I did encounter crashes during the facility descent, right when the infection mechanics became most complex and narratively important. The load times stretched a bit longer than they should, especially after crashes. But here's the strange thing. Even through the technical stumbles, something compelling emerges. The performance issues feel almost thematically appropriate. Like the game itself is struggling to maintain stability as it explores concepts that push against conventional survival mechanics. When the frame rate drops, it creates an unintentional sense of system overload. When animations glitch, it reinforces the feeling that something fundamental is breaking down and rebuilding itself. I'm not excusing technical problems or suggesting that jank equals artistic vision, but there's something to be said for a game whose technical struggles mirror its thematic concerns about systems under stress, adaptation under pressure, and the difficulty of maintaining human frameworks in inhuman environments. The core experience survives its own technical limitations, which might be the most fitting metaphor for a game about survival through transformation. And honestly, even with the performance drops, they didn't negatively impact my experience at all, and I imagine when the game gets more updated and more patches are rolled out, it will be fixed, or maybe it was just my PC being bad, I don't know. You don't conquer this place, you just get absorbed by it. Blind Descent doesn't just ask you to survive Mars, it asks what you're willing to become to do it. Most survival games are power fantasies disguised as vulnerability simulators. You start weak, gather resources, build bigger and better tools, and eventually dominate the environment that once threatened you. The arc is familiar. Human ingenuity triumphs over natural hostility. But Blind Descent inverts this completely. The more successful you become at surviving, the less human you remain. Every adaptation that helps you thrive pulls you further from what you were when you fell down that elevator shaft. Daniel Harris begins as a competent engineer with human training and human tools. He ends as something that can communicate with alien life, manipulate biological matter, and navigate spaces that would kill the person he used to be. This isn't just character development, it's character disillusion. The game tracks your transformation through mechanics that feel like progress but function like erasure. Each mutation solves problems while creating new questions about what you even mean anymore. Your AI companion becomes the last anchor to human perspective, but even that relationship seems to degrade as your biology changes. His voice becomes literally distant as your enhanced hearing shifts to frequencies he can't reach. The game asks, if survival requires abandoning everything that made you human, have you really survived? Or have you just become a very successful corpse? Traditional survival mechanics assume opposition between you and the environment. Resource scarcity, environmental hazards, hostile creatures. The world wants to kill you, and you must be cleverer, stronger, or more prepared to live. But Blind Descent suggests a different relationship. Symbiosis. The environment doesn't want to kill you, it wants to use you. And the more you understand this, the more efficient your survival becomes. This creates a gameplay loop that rewards cooperation over dominance. Fighting the ecosystem is possible, but inefficient. Working with it produces better results, but requires giving up humanity and human assumptions about autonomy and independence. The infection that initially threatens your buildings eventually becomes a collaborative partner. The mutations that initially worry your AI companion eventually become essential tools for exploration. The alien biology that initially seems hostile eventually reveals itself as a sophisticated system that can accommodate human needs if humans are willing to change. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Blind Descent is how natural the transformation feels. The game doesn't force mutation on you, it makes mutation attractive. Each biological change improves your quality of life. Each symbiotic relationship solves practical problems. Each step away from humanity feels like progress. You choose to touch the purple plant, you choose to accept the mutations, you choose to work with the infection rather than against it. The horror isn't in being violated by alien influence, it's in discovering how much you want to be changed. This reflects deeper anxieties about adaptation and belonging. How much of ourselves do we change to fit new environments? How much is too much? And how would we even know when we cross that line? Blind Descent suggests we might not know. We might not even care. Given the right pressures and the right incentives, we might enthusiastically participate in our own transformation into something unrecognizable. The game doesn't offer answers to these questions, it just creates space for them to breathe. And that space feels vast, dark, and 10 miles beneath anything we might call home. Blind Descent may not be finished, but it's certainly mutating. Like the ecosystem it depicts, the game is still evolving, still adapting, still becoming something other than what it started as. What I experienced represents just the first layer of a deeper structure, and if the facility logs are any indication, there are many more layers waiting beneath. The developers have plans for expanded story content, new biomes, additional creatures, and deeper exploration of the symbiosis mechanics. But even in its current preview state, Blind Descent accomplishes something rare. It makes survival feel like genuine transformation rather than just resource management with extra steps. If you're curious what's deeper beneath the surface, you can wishlist Blind Descent now and play the alpha. But I should warn you, even thinking about going down there changes something. Not just in how you approach survival games, but in how you think about adaptation, belonging, and what it means to exist somewhere you were never meant to survive. You can wishlist it, play the alpha now, and see for yourself what kind of person emerges when the elevator finally stops falling. But remember, there's always another layer, another facility, another choice about what you're willing to become. The question isn't whether you'll survive the descent. The question is whether you'll recognize yourself when you reach the bottom. There's always another layer. The question is, when you reach it, will you still be you? Okay, well, thank you so much for watching this video, and once again, I'd like to thank the developers for sponsoring this video, and if it does sound interesting at all to you, make sure to go wishlist it on Steam now and check out the alpha that's available right now. Honestly, pretty good game. There's a lot of potential hiding there. It's a bit janky, but so is like every game in alpha state. I think if it continues on this trajectory, adds some more stuff, fixes the performance, which might have just been my problem, I don't know, maybe my PC's just bad, then there's a real good game here. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below what else you'd like me to see. Next video is probably going to be a stark departure from the recent videos because YouTube doesn't like me right now. So, you know, let's see. But yeah, hopefully this video does all right. I mean, don't see any reason why it wouldn't. But yeah, as always, thank you so much to the channel members and the Patreons. That, of course, being Keofer the Milkman, Flapjack, Camo Chameleon, Vested Voice, Copper Boltwire, Ideen Los, Rasulki Ryler, Will Provine, Ellie Kitty, Reese Lunn, Aroxino, Vinicus Franca, A Brick Wall, Ash Crowing, Adrian Nerium, Crit Croc, My Horror Project, Proxy, and Ice Bear. Thank you all so much for the support. It truly means the world. And if you want your name read here, then, you know, feel free to become a channel member / a Patreon. And yes, make sure to go check out Blind Descent, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.